test, have you got an idea of what your level looks like?
Oh, we've got an idea, so we're working towards that. So still a couple of days out. Still obviously a few concerns around some injured players from certain games, whether it be A games and one-day games. So yeah, just working through that. We'll have a lot more clarity this afternoon into tomorrow morning.
Specifically, so John Holland's finger and
I think you can see what's playing out here. So that's nothing unusual for Trav to be working on his fielding. So it's just more see how he pulls up, see how he goes. He's had a good day today, but it's more importantly how he pulls up tomorrow, along with John Holland. So John Holland was on light duties today, so we haven't made any firm decision on either. But we feel as though we've got coverage in the squad for whichever way we go and the balance we want to play. No, we took a cautious approach with him around the one-day stuff. So it was, could he have played towards the back end? Maybe. Were we in a rush to play him with the priorities, clearly ahead of us in terms of 2 test matches and how important he is here. So we probably took a conservative approach. And I think what everyone saw today, they're quite comfortable that he'll, assuming he pulls up from that he'll be selected in that first test 11.
Just on John Holland, he's come from a long way back. I mean, how present, but when did he enter your thoughts through this tour? Because he only got caught up with the A team 2 weeks ago or even a week ago.
Yeah, I think the direction of the A team was to, I suppose, there was a balance of development plus the here and now. So within that, people sort of get squeezed out for opportunities for others. So we know what John can do, and hence why he's been called into the squad. So yeah, I think it's as simple as that. I don't think read too much into the A selection in the first place. But yeah, he's always been there or thereabouts through purely domestic performance. So he's called in late. Was he a little underdone when he got into the A series? There's no doubt about that, but we feel as though he can bowl his way to the form that we potentially need. Clearly he's got a little bit of an issue at the moment, but just working through that.
You've coached him, probably played with John.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of guy who play for him like that?
I think it's a daily thing, isn't it? So you just assess and you make an educated guess around the information that you got at the time. So it's really anything like that. It's give them some stimulus, see how they pull up the next day, and then make a decision. So, and we're working through that, like everyone else does when there's sort of decisions to make around injuries. It looks a dry surface. It looks like it'll spin. No, we've got constraints here, so the nets clearly don't have the run-ups long enough for our pace bowlers to work off, so therefore they're using sidearms out there, and this wicket in the centre wasn't prepared for batters to bat on. So with any places that we go, there's always constraints, and all that is a constraint. It's not a focus point, it's just we've been constrained with the facilities that we've got, so I'd read 0 into that, so yeah.
Just on Mitch Swepson being the incumbent, I mean, obviously you've got a preference just for finger spinners here as opposed to wrist spinners. In terms of Mitch Swepson, when you're leaning towards John Holland potentially playing him rather than Mitch, who was the incumbent in Pakistan, is there a reason for that?
I made no indication that we're leaning towards John Holland. The questions were based around John Holland and his fitness, so we haven't made that decision, and Mitch Swepson's definitely in the selection frame. So we've got a bit to work through. I think what we're talking about is the direction the ball's spinning and the value of accuracy versus the wrist spin, which at times can be a little less accurate. So yeah, I think traditionally finger spin's done well here. I think I'd be going against all the statistics to say that it wasn't, but also there hasn't been a hell of a lot of leg spin played here either. So I think it's circumstantial, all of those numbers based upon the selection of teams. So yeah, I by no means am indicating that it's John Holland over Mitch Swepson. So.
John Holland versus Matt. I mean, have you got an idea? If you do play a finger spinner, is it John that is fit? Is it John that plays?
I would say that's the likely direction. So it's a matter of whether he's fit or not for us to make a decision around that. So yeah, it's just too difficult to say at the moment around that. So
there's a lot of talk obviously about Sri Lankan spinners and handling Sri Lankan spinners, but you've got obviously a pretty high class batter at the top of the order and you're doing a career right now. Mitch did a pretty good job on him in 2016. He didn't score a lot of runs. It's a long time ago, I know, but do you follow similar players who worked in 2016, or is that ancient history?
I think the coaching staff changes, the captain changes, the personnel around changes. So I think the plans will change subtly. So we've got some specific plans, and we'll go through them again this afternoon and put them in concrete tomorrow once we have our final bowlers meeting. So there's a lot of ideas bouncing around, and the key thing is, what is the surface going to allow us to do? So it's all well and good to sit there and speculate on what the surface is going to do. We'll get a clearer idea of what our plans specifically will be once we see some cricket played on it. Once we see that first ball bowled, then we'll start to work out the information, and that'll really make our plans really clear based upon the surface.
Are they a hard team to prepare for in some ways? Like obviously the white ball teams pretty different to the red ball team. There's not a lot of test cricket played between Australia and Sri Lanka. It's been a couple of years. There's too much series in Canberra. It's been 6 years since is it actually a bit harder to prepare for batters in some ways?
Oh, it is, and it's up to us as coaches to make sure that we are preparing them for the conditions ahead. And we had, I suppose, a little bit of extra work in the one days to do, which those games, as totals got dragged right down and the wicket spun. Is that a direct correlation with what happened out here? Potentially no. It's two different formats, but definitely that turning ball, getting used to that turning ball, accepting that things aren't going to be as predictable out of the surface, and moving on to the next ball. That's going to be the art. The art is there's going to be things happening out there. There's going to be things happening off the good part of the wicket. The ability to calm yourself down, embrace that, and then move forward to the next ball. So I think our players are prepared around that mentally. What we get out there, we're trying to practice what we're going to get out there. And as I said, that one-day series gave us a little insight into the turning ball. So albeit the spinners are going to be different, they've got to change over in their spin department.
Of course, each batter will have has to handle spinning. But as a batting group, would there be an approach maybe different to what it was like in Pakistan? Could we see like faster scoring, just put more pressure on the spinners?
Really individual. So we're not going to talk. The batting group, everyone's got their own biomechanics, different method. They'll go about it different. They'll have different approaches, and Div's excellent in setting them up for that. The discussions go long and deep, and as I said, it'll come down to individual method and then applying that and being brave enough at times to apply that method. And the method here will be totally different to what it was in Pakistan. There's no doubt about that.
Can I ask a slightly longer one going a bit further back, Ron, when you took over at the end of the 2019 Ashes, as your assistant, Mitch Stark, after that 2019 Ashes, it felt like he kind of been told what he wanted to fit into how the team bowled at that point and their strategy. Just was wondering if you could reflect on a bit that when you first kind of saw it, if you kind of coached that out of him, coach that out of him that way.
Not really. I think he's always been a very, very good bowler. So at times you have good days and you have some bad days. So I think it's about reflecting on the positives that he can bring to the team. And his reverse swing in Pakistan was pivotal. His accuracy and swing, regulation swing in Australia was underpinned that success. I mean, he was one of the clear standouts of that series. So I think form lines will ebb and flow. It's how you react to that as a group. And he missed some games in the Ashes from memory. I wasn't there, but he missed some games in the Ashes, and there would have been some reasoning behind that. But we clearly see him as an important player. We clearly embrace the skill sets that he brings, and then it's about using him at the right times. And I think Pat's been outstanding with his use of the bowlers. I think you've seen a captain that likes to get his bowlers into the game early. He's very tactically astute. The fields, he works with his bowlers. He does a lot of planning leading into it. So I haven't seen a considerable technical change or anything like that with Mitch Stark. But what I've seen is just him having performances that have stood out. But it's also a collective attack. I think the attack around allows you to function as an individual. So we'd like to prefer to see ourselves as a bowling unit rather than just one individual, and that individual's improved. I think the whole bowling unit's improved, and I think the way that Pat's leading as a captain's outstanding.
And just on Mitch, was there maybe more of a mental change with him in terms of maybe something it's not the same kind of bowler as Pat?
It was certainly not. He comes from the other side of the wicket, so I don't want to have a laugh about that. But it's how your attack functions. I love the left arm. Gives you the variety, gives you angle. He's different. He's a bit more slidey. His reverse swing is devastating. He's probably on the fuller side at times. And when you're on the fuller side, it creates more scoring opportunities. So embracing the fact that on days that the economy will be higher than the others. They all can't be the same, but how they operate and function as a collective is the most important. If Pat's going at 1.8 down one end and Mitch is attacking down the other end at 3.5, between the two of them, they're giving us what we want as a team. So I think maybe that's been the shift, potentially.
Just one on, mentioned Travis Head before. Is it as simple as if he's fit to go, he plays and Glenn Maxwell doesn't, or are there other configurations whereby they can both play?
Yeah, there's always other configurations. So first and foremost, once we get the information on Trav, and that'll just basically then go through the decisions from there. So until we get that information, then we'd only be speculating as to what the final 11 would look like. So that information is really, really important to us.
Can I just ask about their short leg fielding with the footy? Is that new to this tour, or have you done that before, and how did that come about using the footy?
No, I've done it before. So just trying to create, I suppose, a bit of unpredictability within that. So I've sort of, I don't know, in some ways been sort of shifted into the fielding space as the head coach. But yeah, we're just all hands on deck, and it's just something we toyed around with. We're just trying to create different ways of practicing that. It's a really important skill set in the subcontinent. Sometimes we neglect that, so we've invested a lot of time into that. Does that have an exact correlation to what happens in this test match? Maybe, maybe not, but we're going to continually work on that. In particular, we've got India coming up later, so we'll just keep investing in that. We invested into that around our one-day cricket as well. We had a bit of a hybrid sort of training sessions where we're practicing red ball and white ball just to make sure that we're getting the skill work in, and that's part of the challenge with the Australian cricket team. They come together for shortened periods of time. You don't get big pre-season blocks. They're back at their state, so just making sure we're continually investing in an area that we think is important and a priority here in the subcontinent.
Just on Galle Green and how scoring developed through the Ashes. Going forward, do you see a possibility where you just play him as a second seamer if the conditions are
Yeah, definitely. It's an option. It's probably more an option if you had more injuries to your frontline fast bowlers potentially. We feel as though our fast bowling here is a bit of a point of difference. It's people are talking about spin. Mitch Stark had a fantastic impact here last time. I think Pat will have an impact as well. So we'll probably have to do it slightly differently to our opponent. We can't be them, and we don't want to be them. We want to be us, and that's really the focus. So talking about one quick and an all-rounder. Yeah, maybe, but I think we've got some really good frontline quicks that can prove a bit of a point of difference as to the way that we go about it.
And just going back to what you said earlier about playing brave cricket, like when there is talk of ridiculous matches and things happen quickly, is it even more imperative that you play brave cricket and seize the moment when you think the game is changing?
Yeah, and as I said, with the batting unit, that comes down to that individual method. What's that individual going to do at that time? What are their options? The name of the game is to score runs. So how we do that, each individual, and within that partnership as a duo out there, and understanding each other's games as well. So then when you get put under stress, you can actually communicate with your partner down the other end to problem solve through that. So with the ball, we probably get a little bit more, I suppose, control of that. We'll work out times when we need to press, times when we need to control. But the key thing for us, once again, here we'll be controlling the scoreboard. Sri Lanka will come out, they'll be attacking at times, in particular to our spinners. We're prepared for that. What do we do? What do the fields look like? And then how do we get it into the game and get some control of that game early? And I think that's the key thing. How you start, I think, goes a long way. That first session is going to be all important.